Hello, everyone. Have you ever noticed that the loudest moments in your life often come with the most distractions? The noise, the crowd, the praise, the criticism. It can be deafening, but true transformation doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens in silence. Real power, it doesn't show up when everyone is watching. Real power comes when you're alone. The world glorifies being seen, likes, followers, validation, and attention. But behind every truly powerful person is a period of isolation, a time when they sat with their pain, confronted their fears, trained in the dark and built without applause. That's where the magic happens. Alone is where greatness begins. When you're alone, there's no one to impress, no one to validate you, no noise to distract you. And in that silence, something incredible starts to form: clarity. In solitude, your inner voice gets louder, your instincts sharper, and your decisions more intentional. You begin to understand who you truly are, not who the world tells you to be, but who you're meant to be. Being alone is not weakness. It's a gift. It's the training ground of champions, the forge where strength is molded and the space where real confidence is born. Think about the lion. It doesn't need a pack to know it's powerful. It walks alone and it rules regardless. But make no mistake, being alone isn't always comfortable. It's in those moments of silence that self-doubt screams the loudest. That's where most people run. But those who stay, those who sit with the discomfort, those who choose growth over escape, those are the ones who rise. There's power in isolation when it's used with purpose. It's where ideas are formed, goals are set, habits are built, and character is forged. While others are chasing approval, you're chasing improvement. While others are partying, you're preparing. And while others are sleeping, you're building the life they'll one day admire. This isn't about cutting people off. It's about cutting through the noise. It's about making space for your own voice to speak louder than the opinions of others. It's about choosing stillness over distraction, focus over chaos, purpose over popularity. In the following 4 parts, we'll explore the journey of finding real power through solitude. First, we'll talk about the difference between loneliness and purposeful isolation. Then we'll dive into how your greatest growth happens when no one is watching. Next, we'll explore how self-mastery is only built when you stop relying on outside applause. And finally, we'll talk about how everything you built alone prepares you to emerge stronger for others, for challenges, and for your future. So if you've ever felt like you're on this journey by yourself, good, you're exactly where real power begins. In a world constantly connected, being alone almost feels unnatural. Phones buzz, notifications pop up, and conversations flow 24/7. Society tells us that success must be loud and visible, surrounded by people, celebrated by the crowd, and validated by likes and attention. But here's the truth most won't tell you: your most powerful transformation doesn't begin in a room full of people, it begins in solitude. Let's get one thing straight: being alone is not the same as being lonely. Loneliness is a feeling of emptiness, a sense of lack. It's when you crave company and don't have it. But solitude, that's a conscious choice. It's a deliberate decision to step back, to disconnect from the world so you can reconnect with yourself. And in that stillness, you start to access a version of yourself that the noise was drowning out. When you're alone, you begin to hear the thoughts you've been avoiding. The quiet becomes a mirror, reflecting your dreams, your pain, your fears, and your potential. There are no masks to wear, no roles to play, no image to maintain. It's just you, raw, honest, and real. And in that truth lies power. Solitude gives you something the world cannot: clarity. When the opinions of others fall silent, your own voice begins to rise. You stop asking, "What do they think of me?" and start asking, "What do I think of me?" That's the question that changes everything. Think of the most iconic figures in history. Leaders, creators, innovators. Many of them had seasons where they disappeared. They went into solitude not because they were weak, but because they needed space to evolve. Buddha found enlightenment under a tree in solitude. Jesus went into the wilderness for 40 days. Great minds like Einstein, Tesla, and Da Vinci spent hours, days, even years in deep isolation, thinking, creating, discovering. Solitude wasn't their setback, it was their setup. When you're alone, you take full responsibility. There's no one to blame, no one to impress, just you. And that level of self-accountability builds a mental toughness that crowds can't give you. It teaches you how to motivate yourself, push yourself, and believe in yourself when no one is clapping. But let's not pretend solitude is always easy. It can feel uncomfortable. You might be tempted to run back to distractions. That's because solitude exposes what you need to work on. It shows you the gaps in your discipline, the holes in your confidence, the cracks in your mindset. But those revelations are gifts, because now you can fix what was holding you back. Alone time is not wasted time, it's preparation time. The quiet moments are when you build the habits, sharpen the focus, and align your actions with your purpose. It's the time to read, reflect, plan, train, and develop a vision so clear that even chaos can't shake it. In solitude, your energy is no longer divided. You stop giving your attention to drama, gossip, approval, and noise. Instead, you invest that energy into growth. You study, you train, you build, you evolve, and most of all, you begin to believe not in the version of you that the world sees, but in the version of you that's still being built. When you finally return from that solitude, you're different. You walk into rooms with quiet confidence. You no longer need to speak loudly to prove yourself. Your presence does the talking, because real power doesn't scream. It doesn't need a stage. It doesn't ask for permission. Real power is quiet. It's grounded. It's built in the dark and it shines when it's time. So if you find yourself in a season where you feel alone, don't rush to escape it. Embrace it. Use it. Let it strengthen you, sharpen you, and mold you. Because solitude is not the enemy. It's the incubator of greatness. When you think about strength, achievement, and greatness, most people picture the final product, the moment under the lights, the roar of the crowd, the big win. But what they don't see, what they don't talk about, is where that greatness is actually born in the dark, quiet, and often uncomfortable places where no one is watching. Real growth doesn't happen when you're celebrated. It happens when you're silent, focused, and alone. That's where the real work is done. Let's look at nature. Before a seed becomes a tree, it disappears underground. Hidden, unseen, forgotten. But in that darkness, it's growing roots. It's establishing the strength it needs to rise. That process can't be rushed. The darkness is not punishment, it's preparation. And the same is true for us. You can't skip the dark seasons. You can't shortcut the process. You can't fake the work. Because when the spotlight comes, it will expose whether you trained in the shadows or not. The world is full of people trying to perform without preparing. But the ones who truly last, the ones who carry real strength, they were built in silence. Think of athletes grinding in the early morning when the world is still asleep. Think of entrepreneurs working behind the scenes while others are out celebrating. Think of artists, musicians, and writers locked in rooms with nothing but their craft and their vision. Nobody sees the hours, nobody applauds the sacrifices, but they keep building anyway. Because they understand this truth, what you build in silence becomes your strength in the storm. Silence is powerful because it forces you to focus. There are no distractions, no external rewards, no claps, just you and the grind. And it's in that space that you develop your most important traits: discipline, patience, resilience, and grit. Discipline means showing up even when no one's watching. That's real commitment. Anybody can work hard when they're being praised, but can you work just as hard when nobody cares? Can you stay consistent when the results are slow, when the feedback is absent, when the rewards are delayed? That's where real growth is tested and proven. In the dark, your patience is refined. You realize that success doesn't happen overnight. It's not a lottery, it's a process. It's waking up day after day, putting in the reps, sticking to the plan, and trusting the vision. No shortcuts, no skipping steps, just slow, steady, intentional progress. Like sharpening a blade, the process is repetitive, but necessary. And let's not forget about failure. In silence, you'll face it often, but that's a good thing. Because in the privacy of your process, failure is not humiliation, it's education. You learn, you adjust, you grow, without judgment, without mockery. You become your own teacher, your own motivator, your own competitor. This silent grind also builds resilience, because you've battled self-doubt, boredom, fear, and fatigue alone. You've built mental toughness that can't be shaken by public opinion or temporary setbacks. That kind of strength isn't loud, but it's unbreakable. When life gets hard, and it always will, you'll stand firm. Because you didn't just train your body or skill, you trained your mindset in the silence. And one day, when you do step into the light, when the world finally notices, you won't flinch. You'll walk with quiet confidence, not because of what they see, but because of what you know. You'll know the hours you put in. You'll know the nights you stayed disciplined. You'll know the sacrifices you made when no one else did. And no applause or criticism will move you. You weren't built by the crowd. You were built by the grind. So don't curse the silence. Don't rush the process. Embrace it, protect it, because those seasons of darkness, that's where your roots grow deep. That's where your foundation is laid. That's where the real you is forged, strong, unshakable, and ready for anything. Your growth doesn't need an audience. It just needs your effort. Your future doesn't require applause. It requires consistency. So if you're in the dark right now, keep building, keep training, keep pushing, because one day the world will see what you created in silence. And by then you'll already know you were powerful before they ever noticed. The loudest people often lack the deepest strength. They need the crowd. They crave validation. They chase approval like it's oxygen. But those who are truly powerful, they operate differently. They don't need the applause. They've mastered the one thing most people avoid themselves. And that kind of mastery, it begins in silence, and it begins alone. Let's talk about self-mastery. It's not a trending hashtag. It's not flashy. It's not about controlling others. It's about controlling yourself, your emotions, your habits, your mind, and your reactions. It's the kind of power that doesn't make noise but leaves impact wherever it goes. And it's only developed when no one's around to cheer you on. Most people are motivated when someone's watching. They show up when there's praise. They work hard when someone says, "Good job." But take away the encouragement, the likes, the compliments, and they stop. That's not mastery. That's dependence. Real strength is doing the work when nobody notices. Real growth is showing up when no one is clapping. Mastery starts the moment you stop needing external motivation and start relying on internal discipline. When you're alone, you find out who you really are. There's no audience to impress, no filters to hide behind, just you and the truth. And here's the thing about truth, it's uncomfortable. It reveals your flaws, your weaknesses, your fears, but it also reveals your potential. The moment you stop running from that reflection is the moment you begin to grow. Alone is where you confront your excuses. You can't blame others for your laziness. You can't blame distractions for your lack of progress. It's just you. And when you face that mirror long enough, something begins to shift. You stop making excuses and start making adjustments. You stop pointing fingers and start taking ownership. That's the foundation of self-mastery, full responsibility. Mastery also means managing your emotions. It's easy to stay calm when life is good, but what about when everything falls apart? Do you panic? Do you lash out? Or can you stay grounded and centered and in control? That level of emotional strength is built when you process pain on your own, when you sit with your feelings instead of suppressing them, when you choose healing over hiding. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. Mental discipline is another piece of self-mastery. Can you control your thoughts? Can you direct your focus? Or are you a slave to distraction, doubt, and fear? Alone time is where you train your mind. It's where you rewire your thinking, break toxic patterns, and rebuild confidence from the inside out. It's not glamorous, but it's powerful. And let's not forget habits. The things you do every day, when no one is watching, define your future. Mastery is waking up early, even when you're tired, eating right, even when you're tempted, studying even when you're bored, practicing even when progress feels slow. These aren't heroic moments. These are private victories, and they shape everything. The best part, when you master yourself, you become unshakable. You're not thrown off by criticism. You're not addicted to praise. You don't need the crowd, because you are the fire. You lead from within. You motivate yourself. You stay focused, grounded, and committed, even in chaos. Self-mastery also builds confidence, not the kind that flexes for attention, the kind that moves in silence and delivers results. It's not real. You trust yourself because you've seen your own growth. You've watched yourself show up day after day. You've felt the pain, the growth, the evolution, and no one can take that from you. So if you're in a season where you feel alone, good. That's where the work begins. That's where you start becoming the person you were meant to be. Don't look for applause. Don't chase recognition. Build yourself and self-master your mind. Own your emotions. Strengthen your habits. And become someone who doesn't just talk about discipline, but lives it. Because when you've mastered yourself, you don't need to prove anything to anyone. Your energy speaks. Your presence commands. Your results deliver. And the best part, you'll walk through life knowing that everything you became, you built alone. Isolation is often seen as the end. But in truth, it's only the beginning. The quiet seasons, the lonely nights, the unseen growth. None of it is wasted. It's preparing you, shaping you, equipping you with something deeper than surface-level confidence. Because when you finally step out of that solitude, you won't just walk into the world, you walk in ready. ready to lead, to serve, to inspire, and to make impact that lasts. You see, solitude is your construction zone. It's where the internal foundation is laid. It's where you clear out the noise, dig into your values, sharpen your vision, and build discipline, brick by brick. But the point of building is never to stay hidden forever. The point of going within is so that you can come back stronger, more clear, more focused, more powerful. You don't stay in isolation because you're running from the world. You stay there long enough to return and change it. Think about the caterpillar. When it retreats into its cocoon, the world may think it's inactive, but inside, radical transformation is taking place. It's messy, it's silent, and it's invisible. But when the time is right, that same creature emerges with wings. It doesn't crawl anymore, it floats. That's the power of isolation. When it's used with purpose, you go unordinary. You come out extraordinary. When you emerge from your quiet season, you bring with you something rare. Self-awareness. You know who you are. You faced your flaws, healed your wounds, tested your limits. You're not trying to impress people. You're trying to impact people. And that difference is what separates noise from legacy. The world doesn't need more people chasing popularity. It needs people grounded in purpose. It needs leaders who don't just speak well, but live well. People who have integrity, focus, and inner strength. And that kind of person is not born in front of the crowd. They're born away from it. Your time in isolation teaches you how to carry your strength quietly. You no longer need approval to move. You don't need to explain yourself to everyone. You don't need a stage to feel valuable. You've already proven yourself to yourself. And because of that, your energy shifts. People can feel your clarity. They can sense your discipline. They're drawn to your confidence. Not the fake kind, but the kind that comes from inner peace. And now, you have more to offer. You've developed skills, built habits, created systems. You've turned pain into power. You've turned silence into strategy. And now you're ready to give, to serve, to build, to help others rise. That's real impact. Impact doesn't come from being loud. It comes from being effective. The world may not understand where you've been. It may not recognize the weight you carry, or the battles you fought in silence. But the results will speak. The transformation will be obvious. You'll walk into rooms differently, not because you're better than others, but because you know what it took to become who you are. That's why your season of isolation matters. It wasn't a setback. It was sacred ground. It was where you were refined, not rejected. It was where you gained vision, not defeat. It was where you learned how to rise, on your own, for your own reasons, with your own drive. And that's what makes you unstoppable. Now, when challenge and chase come, you don't. You've already faced fear alone. You've already endured pressure without comfort. You've trained for this. When others are overwhelmed, you lead with calm. Because you've already done the work that no one saw. The world will try to rush you out of your solitude. It will tell you to be visible before you're ready. But don't move until your roots are deep. Don't emerge until your foundation is strong. Because when you finally step into your calling, you won't just be another voice. You'll be a force. You will into suddenly came out different, stronger, sharper, clearer. And now you don't just exist in the world. You impact it. You build what matters. You live with intention. You prove one truth with every step you take. Real power doesn't come from attention. It comes from alignment. And alignment is found when you're alone. So now you know, real power was never about being the loudest in the room. It was never about being seen, praised, or validated. It was always about what you chose to do when no one was looking. It was about who you became in the dark, who you built in the silence, who you discovered when it was just you and the decision to keep going. The world might celebrate the final product, the spotlight moment, the victory, but you will know the truth behind your strength. You earned it alone. You bled in the shadows. You trained without applause. You struggled through the silence. You stood when others quit. And now, you stand tall, not because the world approves of you, but because you approve of yourself. Never forget, the strongest roots grow in the deepest soil. The loudest storms build the toughest foundations. And the most unstoppable power is forged in the quiet moments of solitude, when no one believes in you, but you choose to believe in yourself anyway. So when you find your when you find yourself alone again, don't fear it. Use it. That silence, that space, that isolation, it's your forge, it's your gym, it's your sanctuary.
네.
And if you stay there long enough, if you do the real work, you won't just come out stronger, you'll come out unshakable. Because real power, lasting, unbreakable power, comes when you're alone. Thank you.